Okay. Hi and welcome back. We are at our final session untuk mengupas diskriminasi, and you are with me with an awesome group of panelists. We left off on I think it was marginalization, but what I wanted to touch on a little bit more was actually historical discrimination. I mean, did we all really start off on an equal playing field, equal level? Did we start the race at the same point? And Serene, right? Can you expand on that a little bit?
I think early this year when the women's rights groups organized a women's rights march in KL, and there were a lot of attack on social medias. I think one of the pushback was that, oh, why are we marching? We have gender equality in Malaysia, women have rights. But what they don't understand is that they don't see discrimination. It's because of the certain privilege that they have. That's why they don't feel the differences, they don't feel discriminated. One example of historical discriminations that still has effect today is women's political participation, right? It was in the 19th centuries where the suffrage movement happens worldwide, and women slowly eventually gain the right to vote. But the basis of women's not allowing to vote is because men just assume that women do not understand politics. You belong in the private sphere. You belong in care works, in domestic work. So that's where you know better. So and you can't make a logical, rational decisions. That's why you're not allowed to vote. And today, we have the right to vote, but women still face substantial obstacles when it comes to their right to political participation. I mean, we also see how the 30% demands, right, of women and ministers, that we didn't even achieve that. And we have 50% of Malaysians are made up of women. So what is it so hard to ask for, to have a fair representations of men and women? And we are only talking about men and women and not other identities, right? And you have ethnicities. So
I think our discussion.
Might change your thoughts or interrupt. For babies, right? We have seen so many unfair dismissal due to pregnancies, and even when it comes to workforce, right? Women are discriminated at the get-go, at interviews. You have so many. I've heard so many stories from lawyers, right? Especially when they are in the 30s, when they interviews, the questions would be thrown to them to be, oh, are you married? Do you intend to have babies? So if you are intending to get pregnancies, that is deemed as a disadvantage to employers, and that would be disadvantage to you in terms of opportunities at work and also pay. But when you think of it, we need babies, right? That's how humans survive. Women are performing a social duty. So why are we being discriminated because of that?
And to give women, say, maternity leave or anything like that is considered a privilege. Yeah, it's not a right, not a matter of fact. Like, of course, this is your biology. You're the only one of the the sex that can actually carry a baby. So it's not. It's considered a privilege.
And also quickly on historical discrimination. So there was a case in India, and the case discussed about what are the laws which are almost photocopied in India and Malaysia is very similar. So what are the laws that criminalize against homosexual acts, for example? So for that law, the judges said actually that historically or culturally or norm-wise, it's very normal in India, and it was accepted, and various forms of social rights or expression, gender, so semua diterima oleh masyarakat sebelum ni. Lepas tu penjajah datang, and then it's imposed, so colonized, dipaksa, dan tiba-tiba it becomes a crime and people go to prison. So these forms of inherited or imposed discrimination, we must also look at the history of what it has put onto us. So apply it to people in a marriage. How come rape is still allowed within our own law? Because suddenly you put the ring on your finger, you cannot say yes or no. for some reason, and that was inherited from a law that was from
The French.
1800, in the year 1800. Now is 2018. So when do we move forward?
And those are, I mean, it has this idea that marital rape doesn't exist also it draws from daripada French and English law, right? Yang peliknya,
So colonies penjajah.
yang peliknya kadang-kadang I remember reading baru-baru ni lah. I remember reading Harusani punya statement. Dia kata actually this idea that marital rape exists in a marriage is from Europeans, but the idea that marital rape doesn't exist is actually European at its core and at its roots. Kenapa tiba-tiba
You buka orang lah, you tak boleh kata yes or no, you harta kan?
Tiba-tiba this idea of the idea of marital rape doesn't exist becomes Islamic. Macam tiba-tiba kita pula claim marital rape ni, you know, it's an idea that doesn't exist, it's not Islamic.
It's because I think it was from Christian philosophy. It's that because when two people is married, they are deemed as one, so you cannot rape yourself.
And who is in power wants to promote patriarchy, you will use the law. And you want to subjugate women.
So that's why it's necessary that you have more women in political participation, so at least the women's issue. I mean, these issues will come up and these issues can be corrected, and whoever needs safeguards and protection, it should be in place, and it's really important to have those to have a fair participation, political participation, so that there can be changes to the policy as well.
Absolutely. Bina, I know you wanted to touch on foreign spouses, tapi before you go into that, I know Kak Bina had a hand and I reckon it's relevant to the topic, right?
Kalau kita lihat dari segi sejarah Melayu ataupun sejarah Malaysia sekalipun, memang penceritaan mengenai kaum lelaki dan kaum wanita. Okay? Kalaupun kaum lelaki dan kaum wanita sudah memang dianggap sebagai orang-orang di rumah, di dapur dan sebagainya. Apatah lagi golongan seperti transgender. So memang tak wujud dalam sejarah. Walaupun tak wujud dalam sejarah, tapi kita ada bukti-bukti yang menyatakan yang golongan maknya pernah wujud di Istana Kelantan, di Istana Jahar Kelantan. So mereka membantu golongan diraja untuk memasak, untuk menolong puteri-puteri diraja. Sebenarnya golongan wujud, tapi dianggap golongan tak penting. So dekat sini dari segi sejarah pun sudah ada diskriminasi di antara gender-gender ini. Okay. So gender, kalau kita lihat macam siapa tadi nama? Sering cakap perempuan ni kena mengandung apa semua. So untuk menukar persepsi ni, kita kena ada teknologi dan juga pendidikan. Apa kata teknologi ubah supaya lelaki pula mengandung, baru dia orang padan muka. Begitu juga dengan pendidikan, supaya kedua-dua belah pihak, kedua gender, semua gender lah memahami antara satu sama lain. Hanya dengan teknologi dan juga pendidikan.
So just quickly add to that, on the points of history, like the way that history is written, right? I mean, when we study sejarahs, right, when we look at, when we read about all the tokoh-tokohs, right, they are all men. But where were the women's? Women's contributions in the independence of Tanah Melayu was not, it's either it was not documented, it's not deemed as important, or it was erased. And I think I remember Ishan was talking something about communities and how women's contributions was also erased or not recorded at that time. So historically, our contribution has also been forgotten.
Kalata, you have to add to that?
I just wanted to I just wanted to add one thing about historical discrimination. As in, I think, especially with the ISET conversation and all of that going on, it's very interesting to look at historical discrimination. Because some of these conversations that we're having now, it's also rooted in this historical discrimination, right? Because of colonial because of colonialism, and so we have this demographic right now, and there were all of, I mean, everybody is familiar with this narrative, right? But I think in this sense, we cannot just see historical discrimination of one community, right? So there are so many communities who've been affected by historical discrimination. So for example, we see, you know, like we saw LGBT people punya example with the, and we're still dealing with the impact of the discrimination, right? With the 377, and then we also see with like women, you know, historically because of the lack of voting and the, you know, confinement within the private sphere has also led to like a lot of women not being able to participate in the public sphere and have very little opportunities, like, you know, compared to men, right? And also like, you know, and then we see, you know, people of like more, you know, hidden, marginalized gender identities, where we see like, you know, for example, like queer people, trans people, intersex people, but where, you know, even further removed from like these opportunities, right? Because of the, historically we've been discriminated. So similarly for people with disabilities and all of that. So I think the way in which to like, and I want to go into policy a bit. The way that in which that we want to like look at policy making in terms of to samakan lah the kind of opportunities that people get and all of that is through like providing, you know, through making policies for specific that address the needs of specific communities, not making laws that like, you know, or everybody is equal, so everybody has like opportunities, right? But to look at, you know, what are the different needs, how are people being marginalized, how are people being left behind, and so that we can move everybody, you know, to the equal level playing field, right? Because otherwise, historical discrimination has an impact in making sure that in making people left behind. Yeah.
But how about the discourse? There are people when we say that we should have an act and so that to juggle those who are left behind. But also there are people who are saying like, okay, you are asking for the special right. Yeah. So what is your response on that?
Just make give a quick response.
It's two different points. So when you say special, does that is that based on facts? So when you say special, if you say who needs help, someone who is poor. So anyone who is poor, right? And then you match the circumstances. How poor are they? So you cannot say special right applies to everyone. And when you say special or help or assistance, it's supposed to be temporary. So it depends on the situation, how vulnerable you are, the power. Remember, we said there's different levels. Must be based on that.
So, and also, I think just quickly, I think policy making cannot be emotional and very emotive, right? It has to be based on analysis and it has to be based on evidence. And a lot of these things need to be, you know, there needs to be cost-benefit analysis, there needs to be human rights impact assessments, you know. So, like for example, when like what is the data that we're looking at? Like,
realities.
What is the can? So I think like a lot of times, you know, when we hear this, so I think a lot of times when we look at policies, I think we also need to ask like, how are these things being made? What is the, you know, where's the cost-benefit analysis and like, you know,
the evidence supporting it lah. So I'm very conscious of the fact that we have about 10 minutes left. Giselle, I tahu you nak menyumbang tadi. Bukan sumbang ya. But can you like, I want to go through and also like end on a slightly more positive note, and talk about like, if we're working towards ending discrimination, kalau kita nak menghentikan diskriminasi, apakah, what in your experience, apakah something positive yang that has worked in reducing? I don't think we can, like, maybe we won't see the end of discrimination in our lifetime because new forms of discrimination will always pop up. But what are some steps, some things that have worked for you in terms of reducing the like impact of discrimination or reducing discrimination itself? So what has inspired you? Macam, yes, I pun nak try. So benda macam tu, and you can feed in that final comment that you wanted to make tadi tu. Campurkan sekaligus lah. Then we wrap everything up.
Untuk apa ayat tadi sebab dah membawah kan
tak apa.
So untuk transgender kita berbalik kepada sejarah tadi tu, nanti sambung pula dia punya tu. So bila dah sejarah-sejarah diskriminasi bertambah lagi teruk apabila dah wujudnya undang-undang macam syariah pada tahun 1980-an kan. So sedangkan pada masa tu transgender woman dibenarkan untuk membuat penukaran kahwin. So dan bila benda tu tak dibenarkan lagi, fatwa mengatakan bla 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 bla, so diskriminasi kepada trans woman itu semakin meningkat. I think sebab saya pun tak lahir masa tu. So tapi kita percaya bila kita bertanya dengan yang lebih senior.
Kita buat research pun kita nampak.
Research. So dan sekarang bila Islamization tu semakin meningkat, menyebabkan trans woman adalah easy target sebab diorang nampak visible kan. So okay. Dan bagi I apa yang kita perlu atau positif atau tindakan yang kita perlu bagi trans woman, I rasa adalah kita perlu two-way communication, atau maksudnya jangan hanya mendengar daripada sebelah pihak sahaja sebab I rasa ramai ahli politik atau orang berkepentingan dia hanya mendengar daripada sebelah pihak sahaja. So I think komunikasi di antara dua pihak, kalau orang berkepentingan atau policy maker yang mempunyai suara, so diorang sepatutnya mendengar direct kepada kita, tidak menggunakan orang-orang tengah. Dan trans woman community, saya nak tekankan sini, ini is not about religious issue. Kita ramai trans woman dekat sana yang sembahyang, menjalankan agama-agama masing-masing. So trans woman issue bukan pasal agama. Itu even kasi gender sendiri pun ada masalah agama. So it's a personal, right? That's all. Sekali nafas. Sorry.
Can we go through Rina? I know, let's make it short. I want to try and give everyone a chance to say something before the phone overheats.
So, yes, so let's, I think we are quite hopeful with this kind of environment that there will be more engagement with policymakers, more engagement with vulnerable groups, so that safeguards are in place. Policy change, we are looking forward to that. We, after all, have a reformist government. So over to the next question.
Fantastic, thank you.
I just want to remind that everyone is actually being discriminated. We are intersectionally. I can be a woman, and I also can be a lesbian, and I can be a worker, I can be a stateless. So when you try to discriminate someone who are like a stateless or foreign spouse or a foreign worker, so just think about it. Maybe he is a gay, or maybe he's a type. So who knows, right? So if by we talking about the discrimination, we should always aware that when you want to try to discriminate someone, probably you also have something that people can discriminate you. So how to avoid this kind of thing is to understand that everyone is intersectionally, and so just try to put yourself into others' shoes. So not to straight away cakap benda-benda yang jahat lah.
Okay.
Moral
Serene, and then Kak Dina.
Okay, quick one. I think when the BFM things were out, right, that night I was actually quite depressed. I was like preparing myself. Oh my God, there would be another wave of attacks again. But I'm actually quite heartening. It was very heartening because the conversation that came out was quite positive as well. But I think it was because a lot of the discussion were. I'm seeing individuals coming out and saying things. I think given 20 years ago, right, we would have waited for women's rights groups to put up an official statement, but this time I see really good statements coming out from former guests of BFM, women's. It was really, really good. So I think technology has sort of enabled that we can do things on our own.
Yeah. Yes, Kak Dina.
Okay, kita kena utamakan, kita kena ingat kita adalah satu spesies manusia. Itu saja. Kita spesies manusia, so kita kena meningkatkan semangat kemanusiaan dan humanity. Dan juga kita kena bangkitkan human right untuk semua orang. So kita bila kita lihat satu orang manusia berdiri di hadapan kita, jangan tengok gender dia. Jangan tengok agama dia, jangan tengok bangsa dia, pegangan dia. Kita layan dia sebagai manusia. That's it. Itu sajalah.
Right. Okay.
Bergerak dari diskriminasi berpaksikan kepada kesamarataan atau kesetaraan. So let's move towards equality.
Discrimination.
Kelakar, you want to say anything?
We don't have time. Right?
Okay, we don't have time. Oh, boleh? Boleh, ada sikit lagi masa.
I think my summary is discrimination has to do with power, and like, you know, we have to be critical and reflective of our own power. Like, what kind of power do we have over people, and what kind of power that institutions and other people have over other communities. And I think, like, you know, in dismantling discrimination, it's up to everybody, right? We need to be in solidarity, we need to work together, we need to speak up, we need to do all of these things. So, yeah.
Okay, did I miss anybody? No, right? Okay. All right. So I want to thank everyone. Huh? Yes, I want to thank everyone for your amazing contributions. I want to thank Empower for organizing the event. And of course, Justice for Sisters for bringing us all together. Dan akhir kata, tingkatkan sesi membawang intelektual dan jangan mendiskriminasi. Thank you. Yay!